Through the years, we've seen some massive acquisitions and mergers of tech companies. So today, we're talking specifically with Larry Dignan here about that monster deal between Salesforce and Tableau. We're also going to touch on Google Cloud and Looker, Larry. So just talk about the moves involved here, what it means, and isn't this something we've seen before?
So Salesforce went and they spent more than $15 billion on Tableau. And that sort of had a big buildup before that because Google bought Looker. And then there's been all these other deals in the analytics space. So basically all these enterprise software vendors are looking to add analytics and predictive capabilities to their software. And now that Salesforce has gone out and bought Tableau, there's just going to be a run on all these companies. So there's two ways to look at this. One, there's going to be a bunch of other companies acquired, right? So in the last 10 days, as of this video, there have been 5 deals already, right? So Zoom Data was bought, Periscope Data merged. There's a bunch of smaller players merging. And what everybody's trying to do is get to a capability where you can visualize data much easier. And that applies to almost every business role at this point as data becomes, kind of the lifeblood of companies. So the weird part here is it really rhymes with something that happened in the past in 2006 and 2008. All these large software companies went out and bought what was business intelligence firms back then. So IBM bought Cognos, Oracle bought Hyperion, SAP bought Business Objects, and all these deals were basically had the exact same rationale we see today. And if you look at what's actually happened, most of those companies just got absorbed and I guess they're featured somewhere, but they're not really standalone thriving products. So that's a very interesting history lesson when you look at Salesforce buying Tableau. So we're going to see just a mad rush of companies being acquired. And, some of the names that are being tossed out there are Click. There's one, Alteryx. There's smaller companies like ThoughtSpot and AnswerRocket and Arcadia Data. And, all these things are going to be acquisition titles. And the one company that keeps coming up as a buyer would probably be Amazon Web Services, especially now that Google Cloud bought Looker. So we'll just see how this plays out. And it's going to be really weird for enterprise customers, right? Because you're going to have to figure out whether you want your visualization data platform to be part of a bigger software company. So there have already been a few people that, are avid users of Tableau. They're worried about Salesforce. Probably not as worried about Salesforce as other companies, but it's still a concern. So independence will also matter going forward too.
Yeah, and there is so much that goes into it, Larry. So talk a little bit about, when it comes to these acquisition targets, there are options here to stay independent, pros and cons with going forward with an acquisition. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is when you look at somebody like Tableau, they basically started to thrive when all those business intelligence companies way back when kind of left a vacuum. Right. So once they got acquired and got absorbed into these broader things, the innovation slowed down and that really allowed for the rise of Tableau. And Tableau thrived because it was independent. It was able to absorb data from a bunch of different places and connect on multiple fronts. So if you're an analytics player, you have to play with a bunch of data. And you have to connect everywhere. So there is an advantage to being the Switzerland of being a data platform. And, my guess is we're going to have this mad rush of buying, and then there's going to be these players that pop up that are independent, and they will probably get some traction.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my, one thing that's interesting, Larry, to talk about is history possibly repeating itself. I mean, what are your initial thoughts on, as you mentioned before, with the earlier ones that really weren't a blockbuster of sorts, they were acquired and absorbed. What do you see happening here?
I think we're going to see history repeat itself. I mean, I think a lot of these companies are going to be acquired, absorbed, and they're not really going to thrive, which is probably going to leave a hole in the data platform space, which we know is moving to the cloud anyway. So we do know, like, well, Salesforce buying Tableau, right? That's going to be a software as service and a cloud play, even though a lot of their software is still on premises. Google Cloud buying Looker, that's clearly a cloud analytics play. I think you're going to see a lot of that. And, I think what remains to be seen is whether somebody like Microsoft Azure gets more play with their Power BI software, or whether AWS cooks up its own visualization stuff. That's another possibility too. But whenever there's this run on companies, everybody wants to be in on a merger at this point. And, most mergers don't necessarily work out. So we'll see how this plays out. But I think for enterprise customers, I think they're going to wind up looking at somebody new over time.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody wants a piece of it for sure to get in on this. So, Larry, all right, well, we thank you for your insight on this, and for more on these monster size deals and what's at stake, make sure you read more on ZDNet.